Okay, here's something that's strange to me, and I want to just explain it because I feel like the same sort of confusion that I feel, some other people might feel this confusion too. So there's a TV show, some of you guys might, it's just so old. It's called That 70s Show. There are two actors who were on the show, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. They're kind of popular actors from that time. When the show was on, it was a really popular show. There's this other guy who was also on the show, Danny Marison. Now, recently, this is like 3 days ago, this guy got convicted to 30 years in prison for raping two women. Now, when the trial initially started, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, who are friends with this guy, I think they're like still friends with him, like today. They wrote a character reference letter about this guy's character that was used in court. And after the sentencing, so after he was found guilty, they have now come out and made a public statement on Instagram where they say they stand with victims and they apologize for writing the character reference letter. Now, here's the problem that I have with all of this. What they wrote in the character reference letter, and I'll put a link in the description box so you can just like hear what they literally wrote. I think Ashton wrote, "He's one of the greatest people I've ever met." Mila wrote, "I trust him so much, he's one of the only people I trust to watch my children." That didn't change overnight because he was convicted. So when there was a person, two people, maybe more people, who really knows, that came out and made a claim that he did these things, whether they believed him or they didn't believe him, or like whatever they believed or didn't believe, the things that they said about this guy were true. So the way that they feel about this guy and their personal relationship with him were honest. And I think it's very strange for everyone to try to hop on the politically correct train. That's just not the way that the world works. Like, sometimes you're going to be on the unpopular opinion side. Like, your opinion is not going to be politically correct every single time. And now what I think that it would have been useful for Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher to say is like, we do not support rape. When we wrote that letter, we didn't believe that he did that. Now that all of this evidence has come forward, it has changed my mind. If it hasn't changed their mind, all right, like, you shouldn't just give like bullshit apologies if you don't mean it. But also, someone's real, like, I don't think they wrote the letter that long ago, and the rape that is in question happened like 30 years ago or something. It happened a while ago. It wasn't like this year or something. So what that means is like his character and who he is as a person since they wrote the letter hasn't really changed. What has changed is like the way that they interact with him and the way that he interacts with other people who are not them, which is literally something that everyone does. And I feel like if more people listen to Black women, they would like understand what we're talking about here. How like society and people in general, they love to do this. Like, they'll treat Black women one way and then they'll treat like other women another way, or they'll treat like fat women one way and they'll treat like whoever is desirable in another way. It's like this. Like, people do, a lot of people do this. It's not, and this is why people make those statements where they're like, the way that someone treats you or the way that someone treats another person is more of a character reference on who they are as a person. It's not that reflective of you, despite what it is that you do. There's some really interesting things about society where people like to pretend that they are all good, or there are other people that are all bad. So like, all you have to do is look for one person who does one thing that you personally deem as bad, and if you keep looking far enough, oh, here you'll find it, a whole bag of worms that this person did, or it's all bad, or a whole bag of worms, or this thing that this person did is all good. Like, here's another example of this. So I saw today, it was like today and yesterday, I think, where a lot of people were posting about there's an earthquake that happened in Morocco, right? And all these people are dying in Morocco. Well, there are people who have been literally talking about climate change. They've been like, climate change is a really big issue. We're going to have all these climate migrants. There are people who are not going to be able to live in certain particular places because of climate change. Climate change is serious. Other people have been like, we don't give a shit. Fuck climate change. Nobody cares about this shit. This is not impacting us. And then all of a sudden something happens with the climate, right? Like we are literally having climate disasters, like the earthquake in Morocco. Now, I also remember, and I posted about this. This was not in Morocco, so I'm not saying that it is exactly the same thing, but there's another Arabian country. I feel like it might have been Egypt or some other primarily Arabian country where there were Ethiopian refugees who were trying to enter the country, and then and they decided to like shoot them dead with guns and bullets. And I made a post where I said like, ooh, I wonder where the time and where you can send letters to hell where these like Arabian people will go because they love believing in justice and that karma will come. And then 3 days later, or what is this, like a week later since I posted this, a whole ass earthquake just like literally takes a whole bunch of Arabian lives. If that's not the quickest karma that you've ever seen, some things are just the society and the world that we live in is it's so strange. It's also so complicated, and I'm not trying to sit here and like literally explain karma to you and be like, you do this and then that's why this happens. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I am just trying to unpack the circular nature of society and how like a lot of things like go around and come around. And I think that it just makes a lot more sense to realize where you are in your personal understanding of society at this particular time, and even be able to talk through certain things that you might not understand, because there's no expectation that you're supposed to know everything and that you're always going to be on the right side of history. That's not a thing that exists. But also, like, for me personally, I don't really care what Ashton Kutcher or Mila Kunis says. I think the hypocrisy of it all is just incredible. And I also think it's just kind of despicable the way that they're throwing their own friends under the bus. Another example of someone else in a similar situation, but who did something else, is like Grimes, who literally started posting about how she still supports Lizzo because Lizzo was her friend when other people were not friendly to her. And so even while people are making bad claims about Lizzo, she still sticks by Lizzo. This is just something like a lesson about loyalty. And really the interesting, and I think really just, it's just an interesting thing that I think you should, how do I say, like, take from Grimes in this situation. I'm not saying she's right or wrong, but I am saying she looked at it from a non-biased point. Even though she is like Lizzo's friend versus someone else's friend, she wasn't trying to make it seem like Lizzo is like holier than thou, or that she literally just said that like she gave, how do I say, like a 360 view of the situation and pointed out how, it wasn't really as bad as like people are saying. Now, I don't really know how you confront or combat. I don't, how do I say this? Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do in a case where one of your friends is convicted of raping someone and now they go to jail for that. Like, is that the point, right? Where you would cut someone off and you would say, I don't want to be their friend anymore. I don't know. Like, that's not a situation that I personally deal with, and I don't really know how I would handle that. But I do know that those people have been friends for a very long time, and according to the letter that they wrote themselves, they wrote character reference letters for this man, and like they said they trusted him with their children, and like it was very clear that like they really vouched for his character. So in terms of like their personal lived experiences, they don't have the same relationship that the two women who were raped by this man, or even like, accusingly raped by him, had. They have different experiences. So the experiences that Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher wrote about are real. Like, why are they trying to downplay that and pretend like it's something else? Like, it isn't. Like, what they said, Like, what they said is real. Like, what are they apologizing for? I'm really trying to understand. Like, it's not funny or anything. It's just fucking weird. What do you mean, like, you stand with victims? Like, when did you... I don't think anybody is going to be like, if someone comes out and they be like, they've been raped, you're going to be like, well, fuck you. The person who raped you is my best friend. Like, I don't think anybody is going to feel that way. That's not even... It's not a logical way to feel, but at the same time, like... It just, I don't know. Like, people are fucking... I'm not trying to make any excuses for any rapist. Like, that's very strange. I don't know. I've been making a lot of videos about how, scary and violent men in general are. I will continue to say that because they just are, and there's not, like, another thing to that. But also, like, men are humans, and so that means that they are just, like, complex beings. So they're not going to be, like, all good or all bad. Like, sometimes they're probably going to do some shit that's, like, not good, and sometimes they're going to do some shit that's good. I don't know. You can't just change your entire narrative and, like, the whole history of, like, the experiences that you've had with a person because they do something that you don't like. That's the part that I don't understand. The character reference letters were real. Like, his character in terms of their life didn't change. So you don't get to stand with the victims now because he was convicted. They were victims if he didn't get convicted. Like, the American legal justice system is not, like, it's not even very good. Like, there's so many people who, like, are innocent, who go to jail, people who are guilty, who get off. Like, these are, like, we see this shit all the time. Like, there was, like, another black woman who just got, like, shot in the face in her car. Like, that dude is not in jail right now. He's just, like, on administrative paid leave. That's how it works here. So it's, like, let's stop playing and pretending like everything is just, like, all the justice is being served. Like, it isn't. And, like, the other thing that's super strange, if somebody is, like, coming out and forming a case against another person being like, they did this, the person who's starting the case saying that they did it, they really feel that way, even if it's against your friend. So when they wrote those character reference letters, they realized this. They realized that they were two strangers who they are not friends with, who are on the opposing side of their friend, who said there's just two random people. They're real, like, human people in the world who were like, this dude did this to me. And even after knowing that, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher both said, yeah, no, we don't care. Like, we know this guy. He's a really great guy. What changed? Like, I don't understand nothing. Like, I'm sure if he's on trial and all this shit, he's not going to start acting worse, right? That wouldn't even make sense. Just logically think about this. What changed? How do you change up your whole ass story and your whole ass sentiment now that, like, you legally lost? Like, they aren't even on trial. That's another thing this, like, isn't their case. That guy was just, like, their friend. And maybe now he's not their friend. Either way, though, like, the allegations were real. I think that the rape has always been real. But, like, now he's been convicted, and because it's, like, public matter or something, now we need to talk. This is so dumb. Like, this is, like, really actually dumb. I don't know. People are so fake. It's just, it's ridiculous. And all, just make it make sense. I would appreciate if they would just be honest and not be, like, trying to be politically correct, because it's just giving actually politically incorrect, and it's also giving, like, liar. Like, even listening to the woman who was, like, covering the story, you could see the, like, disappointment in her own face as she's, like, reading over the evidence. It's like, this doesn't even make any sense. Like, as she's reading the letter and you, like, listen to her, it's like, bro, what? Like, it's not giving what y'all think it's giving.